I don't think this video needs to be too long, but today we are heading over to Columbus, Ohio. Yes, down in Ohio, as they say. Because when it comes to the trade rumors and trade updates for one of their top paid players, we had ourselves some word that I think isn't really too surprising, but it is kind of, let's just say, good to get it out there and to have it written out in stone for all of us to acknowledge and understand. So, today we are talking about Patrik Laine, and if by now you haven't heard of what's been going on with this dude, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. We've been making videos about this guy for months now, and essentially, he is a pretty good player. Although he did not have himself a pretty good season, he was not available for the Columbus Blue Jackets for the majority of the year because of a split of injuries and time spent in the NHL's Players Assistance Program. Laine is a pretty expensive player, making $8.7 million a year till the end of 2025-2026 at 26 years old, and he is a guy who, at his best, is a rough point-per-game-ish player who, at one point in his career, had an extremely lethal goal-scoring touch. He's kind of rounded it out to be more versatile elsewhere nowadays, but Patrik Laine, especially with the Columbus Blue Jackets, has still been offensively productive. It's just now there is a very acknowledged change of scenery that both parties would be okay with. The big question, though, when and how is this guy going to get traded? He's still in the NHL's Players Assistance Program, and what exactly does that do to whatever sort of trade conversation that could exist? Well, to help us out, we're going over onto an article on The Athletic published by Aaron Portzline earlier this morning. Blue Jackets Sunday Gathering, projecting the lineup while awaiting a coaching hire. This will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read it yourself, but of course, The Athletic is paid for material, so we're not going to go out there and screenshot this article. Instead, we're going on to ProHockeyRumors.com because Gabriel Foley's snapshots from earlier this afternoon highlights this same Athletic piece and goes over some of the scoops. Now, interestingly enough, the article opens up by talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets and their entire coaching search. I guess we could start out this video by going on this little tangent since it comes first in the article. The Blue Jackets should be nearing the end of their head coaching search, per Aaron Portzline of The Athletic, who shares that he expects a decision to be made before August 1st. Portzline later added that Dean Evason and Jay Woodcroft seem to be the final sparring pair, and that the team is running out of time to handle the logistics of hiring a new leader. Jay Woodcroft, eh? Interesting. You want an opportunity to have the same Edmonton Oilers effect that Woodcroft had. Yeah, okay, Columbus, I see you. Woodcroft and Evason are both coming off of mid-season dismissals last year. Okay, do we really need to talk about that? I'm not too sure, but either way, you can acknowledge that Jay Woodcroft and the Oilers were an interesting pair, to say the least. I'm kind of pulling for Woodcroft, honestly, as if you could not already tell. But other notes from around the league, this is where we go over into our Laine update. Don Waddell will also face the imposing trade of high-scoring winger Patrik Laine before the start of next season, but the process is currently at a standstill, shares Portzline, as interested teams are waiting for Laine to clear the NHL's Players Assistance Program before they meet with him. The team is expected to part ways with Laine before the start of next season, but the timeline of a move will remain murky until he is fully available. And again, I had said this at the beginning of the video, this isn't really, surprising. It is, though, good to acknowledge, okay, this is it. We know now that there is a timeline in place and that there is a process here for Patty Laine. We had the Columbus GM go out there and say earlier in the summer that Patrik Laine could exit the NHL's Players Assistance Program at any point now. It's just a matter of time. Just gotta wait a little bit and then he will be available. He will be out of that program, and I don't know if free is the right word to use, but he'll be free of whatever it is going on over there. But with this in mind, it's easier for us to acknowledge why there has not been a move made yet. How, at this point, teams just want to get to know the guy. He's making $8.7 million. No one's going to trade for that contract right away without at least having the opportunity to talk to him and understand what he is about and kind of negotiate what's going to go on here. it is kind of weird, in my opinion, to see that go down, since I don't think it's too common for teams to be like, okay, yeah, we're trading for this guy. Let's call him and talk to him and kind of get where his head is at before we trade for him. Is that really common? I don't think so. But I think in circumstances like these, where the guy has had an extended amount of time off due to both injury and personal reasons, I think it is appropriate for teams to go out there and sort of gauge the waters, right? See what the guy's looking for, see if they have an opportunity to provide him with what it is that he wants, and if that aligns with what they want as a hockey team. So if teams are going to be lining up and down to get Patrik Laine, okay, that's not surprising, but it seems like for now, these teams are being very patient. They're not wanting to explore any trade just yet, mostly because, hey, they don't want to make a trade for a guy who's not available, and then if worst case scenario, he still isn't available to start out the 2024-2025 season, or if even worst case scenario, he just straight up doesn't want to play there, he's like, hey, sorry, like, this is not really something I'm interested in, I'm gonna peace out even further. Like, if he chooses not to report or anything, which I'm not saying is like something that he would be willing to do, but just, you know, worst case scenario, right? You have to be prepared for every kind of option here. And for these NHL teams that want Patrik Laine, it seems like they are not taking any risks by going out there and making a trade right away. So this is totally fine. This isn't really something that I think changes the perspective that we have of Laine, but at the end of the day, it does give us some solace in acknowledging where the trade market is and where these teams could be coming from. At the same time, we also have to talk about the trade itself when it goes down. The article seemed very, I don't know if definitive is the right word, but it seemed like, hey, a trade is coming, we just gotta wait. That was kind of the attitude that we were getting from the way the article was written and how everything was laid out. The Blue Jackets are on the cusp of trading. It is an imposing trade. It's at a standstill, but it will be happening after he's available to these other teams. That's kind of the vibe that we got here. So it goes hand in hand with all the other talks that we had earlier this week as well, as to how Patty Laine and the trade price has been revealed. We now know what it is the Columbus Blue Jackets would be interested in, whether that is a right-handed defenseman or somebody else to play in the middle six of their lineup, or some younger guys as well. Contract aside, because $8.7 million is a lot of money, Patrik Laine still is a talented enough player that he's not a negative asset. Sure, you might have to retain some salary for a while, but this is still a player who, at his best for Columbus, just as far back as 2 seasons ago, was a point-per-game guy. So he's still good, he's still fine, it's just we have to wait and see what that trade price looks like and how teams will be able to navigate that situation. They want to wait too, until Patrik Laine leaves the NHLPA's Players Assistance Program in order to get that process started. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Patrik Laine trade update that we have had, and whether or not you think this means a move is coming soon. Do you think the trade price goes as follows? Do you think you get yourselves a defenseman, a middle something forward if you're Columbus? Or do you think you get a little bit less because of Patrik Laine's contract? Do you retain any salary on that deal as well? If you're a fan of any other team, then what are your thoughts on Patrik Laine, and would you want to see him get suited up for your hockey team this fall? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this. 9 and bye.